The early afternoon sun over Pinnacle Ridge Estates was a golden, blinding lie. Everything shimmered with a facade of wealth. The meticulously mowed lawns, the synchronized spouting of decorative fountains, and the mirror-like surface of the infinity pool that served as the community's crown jewel. Everything, that is, except for the turquoise-painted metal chair belonging to Danny Rourke. Unit 10B perched strategically at the pool's southwest corner. It was a beautiful eyesore, its peeling paint a map of faded memories, its frame dusted with the faint orange patina of honest rust. Danny, a 30-something software engineer who paid his astronomical HOA dues on time but otherwise preferred his own company, had just settled into his chair, a warm, perfectly crafted cappuccino in hand, when the voice sliced through the tranquil hum of the pool filter. Ramona Vance, president of the Pinnacle Ridge Estates Homeowners Association, appeared like a hawk dropping onto a field mouse. She was a woman for whom immaculate was a baseline, perfectly tailored linen slacks, a diamond-encrusted tennis bracelet that caught the sun like a distress signal, and a face perpetually molded into a grimace of superior displeasure. Her shadow was long and cold, falling directly across Danny's lap. "Ramona," Danny replied, sighing, not bothering to remove his sunglasses. "I was having a moment of peace. Don't you have a dog walker to micromanage?" "Murray's not going to save you, Mr. Rourke," she hissed, her voice low but carrying an alarming intensity. She pointed a freshly manicured finger at the armrest. "That thing is a blight. It is a violation of Covenant 4.3, Section C. All outdoor furniture must be kept in a condition consistent with the high aesthetic and property value standards of the community. Look at it. It's one structural failure away from a tetanus shot. It lowers our property values by the second." Danny looked down. The chair was old, yes, but it was his. His grandfather had given it to him. "It's vintage, Ramona, and it's comfortable. I'll sand it and repaint it next week." "You will remove it today," she corrected, producing a heavy, water-stained piece of cardstock. It was an official violation notice, printed in aggressive red ink, complete with a hastily snapped photo of the chair. "You have 24 hours to dispose of this scrap metal. Failure to comply will result in a $500 fine and immediate removal by the HOA's maintenance team. I've already contacted the towing company. They charge a removal fee." Danny's jaw tightened. This wasn't about a chair. It was about control. Ramona couldn't stand the sight of anything in her perfect little kingdom that she hadn't personally approved. "You're really going to fine a resident $500 over a rusty chair that only I use?" Ramona smiled, a thin, triumphant crescent that didn't reach her eyes. "It's about the principle, Danny, order, discipline, and the fact that I do not want to see that hideous rust stain on my travertine deck one more day. Consider this your final warning." She dropped the notice onto his lap, the red ink burning his skin like acid, and walked away with a severe, rhythmic click of her designer sandals. Danny stared at the notice, then at his beloved, humble chair. His peace was gone, replaced by a cold, burning resentment. He knew how this game worked. Ramona played by the rules, but her rules were designed to crush. He had to respond, not by meekly repainting the chair, but by escalating the absurdity. He pulled out his phone, opened a search engine, and typed a single, vengeful query: "Most ridiculously luxurious outdoor seating available for immediate delivery." Danny didn't sleep. The violation notice, the edict as he was now calling it, was thumbtacked to his refrigerator, a constant, glowing red reminder of Ramona's petty tyranny. The $500 fine was an annoyance, but the humiliation was the gasoline. He was not a man of grand gestures, but he was a man who understood specifications and loopholes. By 9:00 a.m., the rusty chair was gone, unceremoniously loaded into the trunk of his compact sedan. The HOA's travertine deck was spotless, and Ramona's victory was a tangible, silent presence in the air. Danny, however, had an entirely different kind of presence on his mind. He had spent the night researching, calculating, and ultimately pressing a very expensive button. He hadn't just bought a nice outdoor chair. He had purchased a Zenith LX poolside Monarch custom unit. The Monarch was less a piece of furniture and more a mobile, personal aquatic habitat. It was an octagonal, obsidian-finished jacuzzi unit built into a tiered fiberglass platform designed to mimic a throne on a dais. It featured built-in, water-resistant Bluetooth speakers, 12 hydro-massage jets, fiber-optic mood lighting with a regal gold setting, and a proprietary self-filtering system. It was designed for a rooftop terrace in Dubai, not a suburban community pool deck. Its price tag was obscene. Its weight was geological. Its dimensions were the problem. At 1:00 p.m., a white, unmarked delivery truck, heavy with its burden, backed slowly into the Pinnacle Ridge Estate's parking lot, bypassing the designated delivery entrance and heading straight for the pool area. Two men in thick, steel-toed boots and Zenith LX uniforms began to unload a series of enormous, shrink-wrapped crates. Ramona was immediately alerted, of course, by Mrs. Peterson, the HOA's most enthusiastic, curtain-twitching informant. Ramona arrived at the poolside within minutes, her face a mask of escalating horror as the delivery men assembled the tiered platform exactly where the rusty chair had once sat. "What in God's name is this?" Ramona shrieked, skidding to a halt. Danny, standing by with a clipboard, smiled pleasantly. "Afternoon, Ramona. This is my new poolside monarch. I've followed the edict. The old chair has been removed and disposed of." Ramona's eyes bulged, darting from the monolithic black structure to Danny's innocent face. That is not a chair. That is a spatially invasive monstrosity. It's a permanent fixture. You can't install a hot tub on the pool deck." "Au contraire," Danny countered, tapping the clipboard. "I was very careful. It is not a hot tub. It is a personal portable hydrotherapy lounger. I checked the covenants, Ramona. Covenant 4.3, Section C dictates the condition of the furniture, not the type. It must be portable outdoor furniture. As you can see," he gestured to the wheels discreetly built into the base, "it's on locking casters. It's battery-powered and requires no permanent plumbing. I can and will wheel it away whenever I leave the premises. It is, by definition, portable furniture." He pointed to a small, laminated plaque he'd screwed onto the side of the unit. "D. Rourke, Unit 10B Personal Portable Hydrotherapy Lounger. 100% rust-free." Ramona was breathing hard, her chest heaving. She tried to think, but the sight of the monarch, so huge and impossibly black against her pristine blue pool, was short-circuiting her brain. "This is a violation of the spirit of the covenant." "The spirit is irrelevant, Ramona. The letter is what matters, and I have followed the letter of your law to the T unless, of course, you want to provide me with a list of approved dimensions for portable outdoor furniture, which, funny enough, is not listed in your 300-page rule book." Danny's smile was now full, genuinely enjoying her silent, sputtering rage. "Welcome to the new poolside aesthetic." The installers flipped a switch. The jacuzzi throne came alive with a low, satisfying hum, and the 12 hydrojets began to bubble with righteous defiance. The jacuzzi throne was instantly iconic. It was absurd, beautiful, and a tangible declaration of war. It stood like a dark, bubbling monument to petty revenge, and for a week Pinnacle Ridge Estates was consumed by it. Children pointed. Teenagers took selfies. Even a few elderly residents, emboldened by the sheer audacity, gave Danny a thumbs-up as he sat, regally, sipping a new, slightly more expensive coffee from his throne. Ramona, meanwhile, had gone into full emergency protocol. Her phone didn't stop ringing. The HOA board was in chaos. She called a special, mandatory board meeting, her voice on the community email tight with barely contained fury. The agenda: the immediate removal of the Rourke obstruction. "We need a new rule," she screamed at the 4 other terrified board members in the air-conditioned clubhouse. "We need a new covenant that specifically bans multi-jet, octagonal, self-filtering, custom-built, battery-powered hydrotherapy units." "We could just ask him to remove it," offered a meek board member named Gary. Ramona glared at him. "We tried asking with the rusty chair, Gary. This is a legal battle now. If we let him keep this, it opens the floodgates. Next week, someone will install a tiki bar. The week after, a bouncy castle. We must draft an amendment, effective immediately, banning all personalized furnishings exceeding 20 cubic feet in volume." The board spent 3 agonizing days drafting a new rule so specific and restrictive that it was essentially a direct legal challenge to Danny's throne. They voted it in, a 5-0 mandate, and Ramona, triumphant, personally delivered the amendment to Covenant 43D to Danny's door. "Effective tomorrow at noon, Mr. Rourke," she announced, her voice shaking slightly with the effort of control. "Your device will be in violation and subject to a $1,000 per day fine." Danny accepted the document with a casual nod. "Ah, a new rule. That's adorable, Ramona, thank you." "It's not adorable, it's law. You lose, Danny, this is over." "Is it?" Danny said, a slow, predatory grin spreading across his face. "You see, Ramona, rules are like software. They have to be implemented, and sometimes they have unforeseen bugs." The very next day, a Saturday, the pool deck was chaos. Danny was not sitting on his throne. Instead, the entire pool deck, save for the space immediately around his jacuzzi throne, was occupied. He had organized the inaugural Pinnacle Ridge Estate's poolside furniture showcase. He had invited every resident via an anonymous mass email. The call to action was simple. If you have outdoor furniture in your garage or patio you wish you could use by the pool but never dared, bring it. Show your style. The HOA can only find one of us at a time. Let's see what 20 cubic feet really looks like. The result was anarchy. A family of 6 had brought a massive, inflatable, 6-foot-tall pink flamingo. A couple had brought a full-sized, white wicker porch swing. An elderly gentleman had rolled out a vintage, wheeled, 4-poster chaise lounge complete with mosquito netting. The entire poolside was a bizarre, glorious, non-compliant traffic jam of oversized, perfectly maintained, non-rusty, and highly personalized, portable outdoor furniture, all legally compliant until the new 20 cubic foot rule took effect at noon. The party atmosphere was electric. Neighbors who had barely nodded to one another were laughing, sharing drinks, and trading stories about Ramona's past offenses. Ramona arrived precisely at 11:55 a.m., her face the color of the red violation notice. The sight of the inflatable flamingo next to the wicker swing, all celebrating around Danny's massive, silent black throne, sent her over the edge. "This is an organized protest," she bellowed, her voice cracking. "This is a violation of the Peace and Order Clause." Danny, standing next to his throne, holding a microphone connected to the jacuzzi's speakers, shrugged. "No, Ramona, this is a party. We're simply showcasing our beautiful, compliant furniture before your new, highly specific rule bans it all at noon. We're being good citizens, celebrating the spirit of the community. See you tomorrow, everyone, same time." Ramona could find Danny for the throne at noon, but she couldn't find 50 other residents for an hour-long pre-violation showcase. She stood there, impotent, surrounded by smiling, rebellious residents and one gargantuan, ridiculous, bubbling jacuzzi throne. The board meeting had only made the situation 1,000 times worse. The party went on, and Ramona's reign began to crumble under the weight of a pink flamingo and 1,000 tiny bubbles. Ramona did fine Danny. The daily $1,000 fine for the throne was immediately levied, along with a special $5,000 organized nuisance fine for the poolside showcase. Danny didn't blink. He simply placed a single, freshly printed, oversized copy of the fine notice on the jacuzzi throne's control panel, where the gold-trimmed crown emblem was engraved. The war had moved from the poolside to the attorney's office. Danny's lawyer, a young, razor-sharp woman named Alex, was ecstatic. "Ramona handed us a win, Danny," Alex explained, leaning over a stack of HOA documents. "The new rule, the 20 cubic foot limit, is specific, but they rushed the implementation. They passed it, but they haven't held the mandatory 30-day public comment period required by the HOA's original bylaws, Article IX, Section 2. It's invalid for 30 days. "So for the next month the throne is legal?" Danny asked, a genuine smile forming. "More than legal, it's untouchable, and those fines, they're levied under an invalid rule. They are null and void." Alex tapped the $5,000 nuisance fine. "This is the real target. She used an arbitrary fine for an organized gathering. We are going to countersue for harassment, abuse of power, and defamation." Danny looked at the cost projection. "This is going to get expensive." "It is," Alex confirmed. "But you're not doing this for money, Danny. You're doing this to dissolve her tyranny. The defamation is about her public statements calling your property scrap metal and a tetanus hazard. We can argue that the entire campaign, from the moment she mocked the rusty chair, was a targeted, personal attack designed to inflict emotional distress and financial penalty. We can get an injunction." The next day, Alex delivered the paperwork, a cease and desist order and a notification of intent to sue, personally to the HOA office. The document was a legal cannonball. It cited Ramona by name, documented her violations of the HOA's own due process, and included a highly pixelated photo of her aggressively pointing at the rusty chair. The power dynamic shifted instantly. Ramona, for the first time, looked small. She was used to wielding the HOA's power, not personally defending a lawsuit against its collective funds. That afternoon, Danny was on his throne. He was not alone. The sun was setting, casting long, dramatic shadows. Ramona's husband, Robert Vance, a quiet, perpetually nervous man who was clearly a victim of his wife's domestic tyranny, approached the throne tentatively. He wasn't dressed in the usual country club attire. He looked haggard. "Danny, can I talk to you for a minute?" Robert asked, wringing his hands. Danny turned off the jacuzzi's jets. The only sound was the slight fizz of the cooling water. "Sure, Robert, have a seat." "Oh, wait." He gestured to the empty deck chairs. Robert flinched. "Look, I know what my wife is doing is wrong. She's obsessed with the rules. It's how she copes. She thinks she's protecting the community, but she's just bullying. She needs to stop." "Then tell her to stop," Danny said flatly. "I can't. She doesn't listen to me. But the lawsuit, it's going to bankrupt the HOA. It'll bankrupt us if the board pins the negligence on her, which they will. That $5,000 nuisance fine, she levied it without a board vote. That's a huge liability." Robert leaned in, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper. "I know where the original bylaws are, the ones the HOA doesn't want anyone to see." Danny raised an eyebrow. "What original bylaws?" "The ones that were filed with the state, before Ramona and her cronies made 47 amendments. The ones that explicitly state the pool area is considered a common-use recreational easement and is exempt from all standard aesthetic covenants." Robert pulled out a key card. "They're in a safe deposit box in the clubhouse basement. If you get those, Danny, you don't just win the fight for your jacuzzi throne, you dismantle her entire authority." Danny looked at Robert. He saw a man trapped in a gilded cage offering a desperate, treasonous olive branch. This wasn't just about a rusty chair anymore. This was a coup. The coup had to be swift, silent, and undeniable. Danny and Alex met Robert at 2:00 a.m. on a Tuesday. The clubhouse was dark, save for the weak security floodlights. Robert, pale and shaking, used his key card to get them into the dusty, airless basement. The safe deposit box was behind a water heater, a heavy steel cube bolted to the concrete floor. Robert fumbled with the combination, his fingers slick with sweat. "She'll know it was me," he whispered. "She'll leave me." "She already did, Robert," Alex said softly. "She left you when she prioritized her obsession over your marriage." The box opened with a heavy metallic thunk. Inside was a single, yellowed, leather-bound book, the original bylaws of Pinnacle Ridge Estates, 1988. Danny opened it, turning directly to the table of contents, then to Article VI, Common Use Areas. There it was, highlighted by a single, focused beam of Alex's tactical flashlight. Section 4B. The poolside deck and all surrounding recreational grounds shall be managed for the promotion of common resident enjoyment and are hereby designated as Common Recreational Easement Space, CRES, which shall be exempt from all aesthetic, volume, and material covenants outlined in Article IV, with the exception of safety regulations. The pool area was a rule-free zone. Ramona's entire tyrannical campaign, the initial fine, the aggressive new amendment, the $5,000 nuisance fine, everything was built on a lie. She had purposefully buried the original document to give her the power to control the pool deck. The next day, Wednesday, Danny and Alex filed an emergency motion for injunction, attaching a notarized copy of the relevant CRES section. Ramona was blindsided. She was hosting a neighborhood cleanup and beautification rally at the pool, trying to drum up community support to symbolically surround the throne with flower planters. When the HOA's property manager arrived, a defeated look on his face, and handed her the court documents, the crowd watched. Ramona read the CRES clause. Her face, usually so perfectly controlled, cracked. Her pupils dilated. The paper shook violently in her hands. "This is a forgery," she screamed, pointing at Danny, who was sitting silently on his jacuzzi throne, watching the drama unfold. "He fabricated this. Robert, tell them this is a lie." Robert, standing 10 feet away in a perfectly ironed golf shirt, cleared his throat. He looked directly at his wife, a lifetime of resentment finally coalescing into a moment of pure, quiet courage. "The document is genuine, Ramona," Robert said, his voice steady for the first time in 20 years. "It was notarized and filed in 1988. You had it locked away." The silence that fell was heavy, broken only by the gentle burbling of the jacuzzi throne. The crowd turned away from Ramona, their former queen, and looked at Robert, then at Danny. The HOA board, which had gathered for the rally, immediately held an impromptu, whispered meeting. They had been exposed to severe legal risk because of Ramona's intentional deception. 10 minutes later, the property manager approached the throne, bypassing the stunned Ramona. He cleared his throat again, holding a letter. "Mr. Rourke," he announced, his voice carrying over the crowd. On behalf of the Pinnacle Ridge Estates Homeowners Association Board of Directors, I must inform you that all fines levied against you have been retracted. Furthermore, the new amendment, 43D, has been permanently nullified as it conflicts with the founding CRES bylaws. The board has also voted unanimously to immediately remove Ramona Vance from the presidency and all governing roles, pending a full, independent legal audit of her tenure. Ramona Vance, the woman who had mocked a rusty chair and tried to dismantle a man's life over it, stood utterly, publicly, and legally unmasked as a fraud and a dictator. Her reign was over. The pool deck never looked the same. The jacuzzi throne remained, a testament to Danny's principled and highly absurd resistance. He didn't gloat, he simply kept the throne clean and running, sometimes leaving a sign on it, available for CRES-compliant lounging. The community used it in shifts, a symbol of their collective freedom. Ramona Vance was gone. She and Robert separated shortly after the unmasking, Robert moving into a small, rented condo, finally free. Ramona sold her unit and moved out of state, the quiet, humiliating thud of her departure far louder than any of her shrieking pronouncements. The irony of her fate was complete. She had obsessed over aesthetics and control, only to be financially broken and publicly disgraced by the very documents she had sworn to uphold. 3 months later, the new HOA board, now consisting of Gary and 3 other genuinely decent neighbors, held a celebratory post-audit meeting at the clubhouse. Danny was invited. "Danny," the new president, Gary said, shaking his hand warmly. "The independent audit concluded that Ramona's deception put us at risk of losing our CRES designation entirely, which would have opened the floodgates for commercial development. You didn't just save a chair, you saved the soul of the community." "I just wanted to sit by the pool in peace," Danny replied, accepting a glass of celebratory champagne. "We'd like to make it official," Gary continued, clearing his throat. "Under the new, transparent administration, we are proposing a minor, purely symbolic amendment to the community's aesthetic guidelines to be voted on next month. We call it the RERC provision." He presented Danny with a neatly printed proposal. Danny scanned the document. It was short. Amendment 43E, the RERC provision. In recognition of the community's founding principle of CRES and the importance of resident expression in common areas, the HOA shall designate one piece of community furniture as an official protected symbol of resistance and community autonomy. This furniture, colloquially known as the throne, shall be exempt from all current and future aesthetic, volume, and material covenants, provided it remains safe and functional. Danny looked up at Gary, genuinely surprised. "You want to permanently enshrine the jacuzzi throne." "We want to permanently protect the principle it represents," Gary corrected. "And if we're being honest, it's really comfortable. We took a vote. We all love the bubbles." Danny laughed, a real, full-throated laugh that echoed with the sweet, deep satisfaction of true justice. He had wanted peace. He had wanted to win. Now he had achieved something far greater. He had created a permanent, bubbling monument to the defeat of tyranny. He had taken a rusty chair, endured a tyrant's mocking, and replaced it not just with a jacuzzi, but with a throne, a symbol of the people's victory. Later that evening, Danny sat on the jacuzzi throne, the regal gold lights shimmering off the pool water. He set his new, perfectly polished, gold-plated tumbler on the rim. He looked at the vast, peaceful, rule-free stretch of the pool. He was no king, but he had a throne and he had his peace. The only thing missing was his old, rusty chair. He reached under the control panel, pulling out a small, turquoise-painted metal plaque he had secretly screwed there earlier in the week.